What's the legal side of buying books, spraying their edges, and reselling those books? Is this something they can legally do? Do licenses need to be involved? What does this look like? Let's talk to everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony, to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
The book community has been having conversations, Tony, about spraying edges of books and reselling those books. So people will buy copies, they will spray the edges with pretty designs, and then they'll resell them to other readers. From a legal perspective, is this something they're allowed to do?
Yes, this is absolutely permitted. And again, I think this is just based on a matter of a read of what's called the first sale doctrine that's in copyright law. So we've talked about how under copyright law, when someone makes an original work of authorship, whether that's a book, artwork, sculptures, movies, television shows, music, anything that is covered as a work of authorship under the Copyright Act, there are rights that are afforded to that specific copyright owner. They have the reproduction right, the public distribution right, the public display right. They're all enumerated in 17 USC 102 if you ever want to check it out. When you are the copyright owner, it's understood that if someone, let's say, bought a copy of your book, or let's say they bought a piece of your artwork, it's understood that all they're doing is they're just acquiring the right to buy the book and read it, fiddle with the pages, whatever. But they can't reproduce that book into another book. They can't, let's say, scan the pages and upload it on a third-party website. They're just buying that book and, in theory, reading it. But that's where the first sale doctrine kicks in. Once the copyright owner sells a book to a user, basically that user now has free liberty to then resell it, to give it away, to destroy it, to do whatever they please. In theory, painting the sides or the edges of a book isn't really something that is explicitly prohibited under the first sale doctrine. I don't think it's the kind of thing that also transforms the copyrighted work and making it into a new copyrighted work, because you're just tampering with the physical copy itself. Now, I guess this is where you get into that fine line: is spray painting edges destroying the work? I don't think so. But I think at the end of the day, it could be a read of it. But it's nothing that would compromise the heart of the book, which is the actual copyright. So if someone were to take the book, spray paint it, do like a little funny design on the side and resell it, that's fine. What they're not doing is taking the pages of the book, pulling them off, transplanting them, let's say, on a PDF or a Word document, reprinting that book and selling it as their own in a new stylized version of the book. That's where you get into trouble. That is copyright infringement. This happens all the time, not specific to the book industry, but you do see this often even in the sneaker community, where people will buy sneakers, and like a Nike sneaker, or Puma sneaker, Adidas, what have you. They'll modify it, like they'll take off the stitching, they'll put a new stitching, they'll paint it, they'll do little funky designs, and they resell it, but they resell it as a Nike sneaker. That's where it becomes a bit more problematic, because that's inching the line of it not really satisfying the first sale doctrine. Of course, those sneakerheads will disagree with me vehemently on that. But either way, the first sale doctrine just allows a user to resell it, to give it away, to do whatever they please with that specific book. And that's it. That does not mean that they have the right to reproduce that work or to do anything that would harm the copyright integrity of that specific work of authorship. The moment that happens, that's where copyright owner X steps in, sends a cease and desist, threatens to sue for copyright infringement, and if they don't comply, then that's when you can have a full-blown copyright infringement lawsuit on your hands.
So if this is something you are interested in doing or you are experiencing, you want to make sure that you are very careful with the steps you are taking forward. As always, check with your lawyer before you do things to make sure you truly are covered in what you're doing and how you're doing it. Just because we're giving you really good information doesn't mean that you are adhering to that or stepping out of line. So double check with your lawyer to make sure you are good to go before you do anything. And if you get a cease and desist, hire your lawyer and make sure they're reading through what this is to make sure you are protected and good to go. If you've got questions on this or anything similar to this, Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes to keep us legally protected inside of the publishing space. Now is the time to let us know what you're worried about, what your fears and frustrations are, or what your questions are, so that he can answer them in upcoming episodes. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social media for immediate conversation. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my entertainment law podcast called Unseen. New episodes drop every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Some of you were surprised by that answer, and some of you weren't. But if you have questions on the legal side of publishing, drop those down below, because Tony is coming back for upcoming episodes to keep us legally protected in the publishing space. And we are helping you every single day to navigate the world of publishing and writing and being in this book world, from influencers to writing to publishing. We're getting your questions answered from a long-time, multi-time best-selling author who's even been working in the business longer than that. And we want to make sure we're helping you to make this your most profitable year ever. So drop the questions down below and see you in the upcoming episodes.